In my many train travels, I've seen lots of trains. But of course, I have a family. I'm not just a train foamer, so I've gone to many theme parks and zoos in addition to rail fanning locations. However, lots of zoos, as you probably know, as well as amusement parks sometimes, have trains. And I've filmed plenty of them over the years. They never really found a place in my main rail fanning series because they weren't mainline rail traffic, and I never had enough footage of each individual one to make a video out of, so here's a compilation of all of them. We start on July 8th, 2022 at the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo. Of course, as it's in this video, this zoo has a train. However, it's a very lackluster one. It simply runs in a small figure-8-like loop that departs and arrives at only one station. The railroad is known as the Z-O&O Railroad, which is a really awesome name, by the way. Massive props to whoever came up with that. The power on the train is a Chance Rides Inc. CP Huntington locomotive, based off the real Southern Pacific CP Huntington. The one here at this zoo is numbered 40, and of course it's named CP Huntington. These locomotives are obviously not real steam engines. Instead, they are steam outline locomotives that are actually powered by either gas, diesel, or propane. Some newer versions even have batteries. However, this is one of the diesel-driven versions. As the train departs from the only station on the whole railway, we get to see the unique open-topped coaches. These have the same chassis as all of Chance Ride's other coaches, but they simply don't have the rain protection cover. After it completes the small loop, it heads over the points to go around a second loop before pulling back into the station in the same direction it departed from.
So while you roll back into the station, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you enjoyed your ride. For the sake of your safety, though, I must ask that you please stay within your seats until the ride has come to a complete end or stop. Thank you. Enjoy the rest.
Next up, on July 18th, 2022, only a few weeks after the Fort Wayne Zoo train, we have the one at Kings Island Theme Park in Wauseon, Ohio. Kings Island has two trains, actually, both of which are actually steam-powered 440s. The green train and the blue train. On the day of my visit, the train was the blue one. However, as you can see, the footage is crispy, and that's because I filmed this on my aunt's phone, which is an Android. So when I transferred it to the Apple iPad I'm making this video on, it got baked into oblivion. So deal with the less than 144p quality of this in this section. Or don't, I don't really care. Anyways, we decided that we would catch the train departing once first, and then we would ride it. So here's us catching that departure. Here you can see the only remaining footage of the ride. It's too pixelated to tell exactly where we are in any of these shots. I didn't download all of the footage I took during the ride from my aunt's phone as I realized it was absolute garbage quality. And she deleted it to save space on her phone later on, so I can't recover the higher quality version or even the lower quality version. The only place I can recognize on this whole trip is the Soak City station, which the train did not stop at since Soak City was closed at the time of our ride. Next year, though, on July 12th, 2023, I would get a chance at redemption, as our family returned to Kings Island for another vacation. Once again, I wanted to go see the train, but I was riding lots of rides. So my brother decided to go down to the train station to get some video of it for me. The engine propelling this train is number 19, named Lou Brown. It's painted green and was constructed in 1972 for use at the park. Here you can see it taking on water. Now we get a view of the Mystic Timbers wooden roller coaster, one of the best at Kings Island in my opinion. Now the train is ready to leave. That wood you see in the tender is real wood, but it's not used for firing the engine. The engine is propane fired. That's something I've never seen before. Here we can see the timbers again, except this time the orange train is on the track. Now the train is departing. You can see the American flag on the engine waving. Now, this run of the train is identical to the run that I would later go on, as I would ride the train later in the day. Since this footage is blurry, not in 1080p and in a different aspect ratio, I'm not going to show this footage, and I'm going to cut to when I rode the train. But everyone say thanks to Trenton for considering to take this footage. After Kings Island's water park, Soak City, closed down at 3 o'clock, everybody from the water park rushed into the main amusement section, causing an absolutely large amount of people that come in, and as a result, wait times were extremely long. We waited in the line for the Beast wooden roller coaster, which is still the greatest wooden roller coaster of all time, for an entire hour before we got to ride. My cousins and my aunt wanted to ride a different roller coaster, the Invertigo, which they ended up regretting, but I didn't want to wait in any more lines. So I headed to the train to take some footage of my own. Behind the engine here are 6 of the 12 open-air passenger cars that the railroad operates. These ones have varying numbers, but all of them are in the 400 series. The railroad itself is 3-foot 6-inch narrow gauge and has been open since 1972. According to the signs at Kings Island, this is the most ridden attraction at the park. It's rated a level 1 low thrill ride out of the 1 to 5 thrill ride category on Kings Island. Just as the train departs, you can see the water tower completely made of wood that it was used to refuel the engine on both of these trips. Here, we're passing by one of 2 railroad crossings on the railroad, and under the tracks of the extremely fast Diamondback roller coaster, which was installed in 2009 and carefully avoided the right-of-way of the railroad. Here we can see it crossing over the small creek that intersects the park, as well as one of the railroad workers giving us a wave as we pass by. Here we pass by a small wooden shack in the woods. The train accelerates to quite high speeds as it heads past the tracks of the Mystic Timbers roller coaster once again. Now the train heads past the locomotive sheds where the locomotives and their consists are stored. The blue train is stored on the right and the green train on the left. Here we can pass by an S-curve through a cutting in the forest. Now we can make our way through the second station on the railroad, the one at Soak City. We didn't stop at this station because Soak City had closed at 3, as I previously mentioned. After slowing down for the pass through the station, the train accelerates once again, heading through a quite open grassy area around some sharp curves and near the freeway on the outside of the park. That was a loop, and now the train is heading back through the station, once again through Soak City, to head back along a parallel track heading the other direction, back to where it started at the Rivertown station. Here we pass by the so-called Western Town. This was recently renovated in 2022 for the 50th anniversary of Kings Island that year. This railroad, being built in 1972, was among the first attractions at Kings Island. And here we pass by the only switch on the railroad, leading into the locomotive shops. Now, our journey has been completed, and the train can travel underneath the Mystic Timbers roller coaster once again on its way back into the Rivertown station. Now the train was about to depart, so we headed down this path, which is the one that the railroad crosses over, to get a shot, duplicate of the one that I missed last time with the blue train because it got corrupted. Here, once again, we can see the Mystic Timbers roller coaster. Yeah, you can see it wasn't a very nice day, and it looked like rain was going to come pouring down at any minute. Once the engineer was ready, it was time for the train to leave. But it actually didn't leave. Instead of leaving, the train's cylinders started to leak steam just like they would on any normal departure, but instead of going forward like it should, the engine inched backwards for a little bit, and I have no idea why. After even more waiting, the train finally departed. The next day, July 13th, 2023, we were still on that vacation and decided to go to the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden, which is only about a 30-minute drive from Kings Island. Just like Kings Island, this place had a train. However, it was one of the normal CP Huntington Chance Rides Inc. engines. Here you can see one of the railroad maintenance men checking the track before the train arrives. Here's the ticket office where you buy the extremely overpriced train tickets, which is why we didn't ride on this occasion. Here's the train station. Look how long the line is. Oh, geez. Here you can see the signal. Stop on red signal. Please do. If you don't, you're going to get run over by a train. After that, the train finally arrived.
If you guys have fun on a party train today, can I get a whoop whoop? Awesome.
That's right. Because it has been red.
I looked for a spot to shoot the train's departure and found this spot on top of a rock near the front of the train station. Here, we can see the entire train, with the enclosed Chance Rides Inc. coaches, which are also painted green to match the engine. The engine, since the CP Huntington design, is named CP Huntington and says 417 on the bunker. This is one of the more modern Chance Rides CP Huntington locomotives, as it's battery-powered. Here we can see the train departing.
At all times. Also, please make sure all little ones are either seated.
Just like the Kings Island train, all the coaches on this train are open. After that, we were gonna leave, but unfortunately for everyone except me, we had to hang around for a little bit to wait for the other group with my aunt and my cousins to meet up with me. As a result, I was able to catch the train again.
Alright guys, as we're coming back to the station, we're going to be slowing down. Just make sure to remain seated until we come to a complete stop, please. So you guys have fun on the safari train. Can I get a whoop whoop?
Our next train is at the National Museum of Transportation in St. Louis, and it's yet again another C.P. Huntington locomotive produced by Chance Rides, this time painted silver. This train runs right by the parking lot, so we got our first glimpse of it literally as we were pulling in. This museum, being the National Transportation Museum, has many railroad-related exhibits, so we were distracted by those and didn't catch the train again until much later. Here's a shot of it pulling into the station. Later in the trip, we were preparing to ride, so we headed back down to the train station, the only train station on the whole network, once again, where we got a pretty much nearly identical shot of the train. This locomotive is once again named C.P. Huntington, is painted completely silver, and has the number 340 on its bunker. I don't know what propulsion source this one uses. Once again, sorry for the horribly compressed footage, as this was once again transferred from my aunt's phone. Here we are on the train, preparing for it to depart. Once it does, we soon enough pass by our first exhibit. I legit have no idea what this thing is because I can't tell through the pixels, and I forgot from when I was actually there.
Coming up on your right is our first exhibit, the Aerotrain.
Just up ahead is one of the few railroad crossings on the railroad.
Urban train transportation, built in 1955.
It's currently not working as the road is closed for maintenance. Over by one of the barns, we get to see the unique United Aircraft Corporation turbo train in its later Rock Island livery. This was the best shot I got of it on the whole trip because I didn't feel like going over there. As you can see, it's definitely a great one. No sarcasm at all. Behind it is a rail bus, and behind that is a Mopac caboose. According to the guy who was talking on the radio during the train trip, that was one of the last cabooses used on a revenue freight train. Just nearby on the other side of the track, we see the backup C.P. Huntington locomotive, which is a complete copy of the other one, except it has the number 341. We also get to see a bus, because it's in a National Transportation Museum. They have to have every form of transportation. With much better quality, we pass by the main premises, where we get to see a car on a stand and a Wabash caboose. Once again, according to the guy on the radio on the train, Wabash was the only railroad to build their own cabooses. And here we are, pulling back into the station. Except we didn't stop, because you actually go on 2 journeys on this train, but I didn't feel like filming the second one because it was literally the same journey. And just before we were about to leave, we caught the train once again heading through the parking lot. On August 10th, 2024, we visited the final train for this video, the one at the Potawatomi Zoo in South Bend. Yet again, it's another CP Huntington made by Chance Rides. This one is also silver but has some gold fittings. Wait outside at the new bear-themed restaurant so we could catch it heading out of the tunnel. And so we were eating, it showed up again as it had made a whole nother rotation, and I rushed down to the railroad crossing to catch it. As we were walking through the zoo, we caught it again. Panning on the cab now, you can see the Cincinnati Bank advertisements plastered on the side. Soon after, we attempted to ride the train. However, we couldn't get on as there were too many passengers, so we had to wait an entire rotation at the train station. However, that gives us this good departure footage. The locomotive is numbered 1883 on the front and doesn't have a number on the bunker like all the others, as it's covered over by the previously mentioned Cincinnati Bank advertisements. And where the CP Huntington name would normally be, the name Potawatomi Zoo Express is there instead. After waiting for about 10 minutes for the train to complete its rotation, it headed back into the station. This is actually one of the rarer gas-powered CP Huntington locomotives. Since we were the first ones in line, we got the first dibs on seats, so of course we chose the rear pavilion at the end of the train. The coaches on this one are the fully enclosed ones, not like the ones at the Fort Wayne Zoo. These were red and do not match the locomotive. After we departed from the station, we passed by several animal cages. There's plenty of animals visible on the train ride, except, unfortunately for us, most of the ones that are not out right now. Here we are passing by the pond area with lots of ducks, monkeys, and carp. Here we're passing by what I believe is the emu exhibit. Here's the parking lot as we round this bend and go over a small, not really railroad crossing. And here we pass by the street next to the zoo. And now we're heading over another not railroad crossing designed for employee cars. There's no gates here, so that's why I consider this not a true railroad crossing. Here we are heading through the tunnel and past the new bear-themed restaurant. And here we are, rounding the final curve into the train station. This is the only curve in the correct direction for me to get a good view of the train, and as you can see, it's obscured by the fence. And the final thing to see is the giraffe exhibit, which is pretty obscured by all the pathways to get up there. After going through the whole zoo, we decided to go on one more little expedition to get some good shots of the train. We wanted to shoot it from the bridge over the pond, but it jump scared us while it was pulling into the station once again, and we decided we might as well take 2 shots. After that, we waited quite a while at the bridge for the train to show up before it eventually did. This is the pond where you can feed carp as well as ducks. That middle island is the famous Monkey Island, which is present in quite a few zoos. The train heads slowly by the lake, mimicking its motion, except in the opposite direction. Man, I was trying to be like poetic or, whimsical or whatever there. I don't know. None of these videos are scripted. I'm just saying whatever I feel like in the microphone, so I can say this. Anyways, after we took this shot, we ran down to get 2 more brief ones before we eventually said that we were done with the train.
We were feeding them over there. That spot. There was like 100.
Yeah, there's so many.
They're just all hitting.
Well, that's all the zoo/carnival/amusement park trains I've seen as of yet. There's probably more, and I'll probably make a sequel to this video eventually at some point. I hope you enjoyed this little video diving into one of the less explored parts of the rail fanning hobby, and make sure to come back next time for another vlog just like this one.